What is up, and welcome back to another episode of the Girl Gainz podcast. I'm Amber P.
I'm Alexis Adams.
And for today's episode, we have a Q&A. So Alexis and I decided that once a month, we're going to do a Ask the Girl Game. So you can, Girl Game, Ask the Girl Games. Wow, that was difficult. This will be our segment once a month for Q&A, so you guys can ask us our questions and we'll answer them. But first, we're going to do some life updates. Alexis, what's going on?
We are prepping, like full-blown prepping. There was never like you know how Nelson likes to do, like, ta-da, here's prep. And there was no like, welcome to prep email. It was just like, there was one email that said, we're starting to think about prep. And I was like, okay, but my cheat was still there. And you guys know that like the last couple preps, the hallmark is like the cheat's gone. So I was like, okay, but my cardio was bumped a little bit, I think, my step count, and it was just like, don't be snacking. Like keep your cheats controlled, that kind of thing. So then like that was like 3 weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago. I don't even know because it wasn't like I'd have to go back and look. But so he did that. And then since then, it's been like incrementally making changes that you do in prep. So, but today was the biggest like adjustment. So for the YouTubers, I think I'll send you because I haven't done my YouTube in a minute. So for this one week, I can send you my like check-ins because I sent my check-ins today, and then he's already responded with my like update and change. I started printing them out because I can't keep.
Because what?
My off season, like I didn't sit at the same diet for like weeks and weeks like I have done in the past. It kept incrementally like every 2-ish weeks, like increasing food somewhere. So I never got to where I could like completely memorize it because things were like constantly different. And
I
like
know what you mean, yeah.
my meal one even adjusted up, and that's never happened before. So I couldn't keep up with the changes in my memory. So I've just been printing it.
Yeah.
And then taping it to the refrigerator. So like I have it on my phone too, and I pull it up on my phone, but like when I'm making like multiple days of meals for a trip, it's easier to like keep going back to the refrigerator. That way it's big and I can kind of keep track of it. So for today's update, he bumped my step count. He kept cardio the same for this week. Dropped fats on my training day and took my cheat meal. So he explained, and then the email, yeah, a lot. And then the email was like, let me read it to you because he was very dramatic. We're cranking it a little. I'm gonna start pushing harder and harder. We're gonna get this rolling quickly. So, and he doesn't like blow smoke. So, we have some show dates in mind. I'm not gonna tell you guys what it is, and I'm not sure when I will. I'm gonna keep doing the updates. I just don't know. People get so fixated on like X amount of weeks out. And I'm definitely pushing for like the one that I want to do, but ultimately we'll do what I'm the most ready for. So that's my update with that. Oh, and he already moved me to check-ins twice a week.
Nice. Just the cheat and the fats alone, that will definitely get some things moving.
Yeah. Oh, and he dropped my carbs in meal one on both training days and off days. So like we carb cycle a little bit, like year round anyway. But not a ton. It went from like 60 grams of oats to 40, but it's been 60 for a hot minute. So we shall see.
Yeah. I hate carb cycling. I do that a lot. I understand it. I just hate it from like a consistency standpoint because when I first started out, that's what I would do too. I'd print everything out, but I can memorize it when everything's the same, but like, oh, I gotta keep going back and looking to see, wait, what is it today? What is it? And I've screwed up before where it was a day where my carbs were supposed to be lower and I was eating more or vice versa. And I was like, okay, girl, you don't need to be trying to go off your memory. You just need to go look at what you have on your plan and go from there. But I
Yeah.
feel you. And that's smart to do that, print it out. So that way it's
I've
there in your fridge,
never,
especially
until
when you're
like the
doing
very
bulk.
end of prep, I've never hit not carb cycling. Like until the very end when like it's
Yeah.
almost all low days anyway and you're just refeeding as you need
Same.
to. Um
Mm-hmm.
it's always been, so I think I'm just used to that, and it's very much like, as far as my brain, it's almost like work days low day, non-work days high day, because on work
Yeah.
days I don't train, so I can like kind of compartmentalize it that way. Um
Mm-hmm.
but and I kind of like it because it keeps it feels like things are changing, rather than doing exactly the same thing every day, because y'all know that I'm not patient,
Yeah.
and there's there is monotony in bodybuilding, but I like things to
Oh,
like
100%.
get shaken up a little bit. But I've been
Yeah.
doing,
Alexis likes action.
I do. When he says we're gonna get this rolling quickly, cool, sounds good to me.
Uh, yeah, I know for me, like once we're not carb cycling, that means things about to get dark. I'm like, oh, here we go. Here we go.
But
Well,
that's like
maybe we should
that
even
also
talk
brightens
about
my
what
day.
uh yeah, maybe we should touch on what carb cycling is because if someone's new, they might not know what it is.
So
So
I
it's
say carb
go
cycling
ahead.
like very lightly in my sense, because it's like it's basically like low versus high days in general, like calories
Hmm.
wise. Um, but using, and some people don't agree with this method, but it tends to work very well for fat loss.
It
Um,
works. Hmm.
it can just sometimes it can lead to negative thoughts associated with food, I guess, because it's like if I don't need the food, I don't want to eat it. Because like the thought is on
Uh,
days that you're training, you need more food, you need to fuel more, versus the days that you
mhm.
aren't training and you're not in the gym for 2 hours burning however many amount of calories. You don't need as many calories for that day because you're not using them. Um,
Right.
is the thought process. So like for me, I usually have higher calories, higher carbs, higher, I don't get really high fats anyways, but higher amounts on days that I'm training versus days that I'm not.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And that's essentially what it is. Have a day where it's higher food versus lower. And then this is your coach's way also of learning your body. Like Jay knows my body. We've learned that we can do to help me from plateauing out as well. So we'll do maybe like 3 low days, then a high. 3 low days, then a high. And then if things start aren't budging, then she'll make adjustments from there. Or if it's a situation where I have maybe all low days and then maybe on one random day she'll give me a refeed. Like it's hard because it depends. It depends on what the body is actually doing. And just because someone else is doing it one way doesn't mean that someone's wrong. It's just a matter of, hey, this is very particular to that person's body. But I love it when it is a situation when my high day does fall on a gym training day because like my schedule is just all over the place. So it's kind of hard to like make it set to that. So, at some point just have to get some kind of consistency and see what's working. But yeah, that's carb cycling. And again, like don't make it more difficult than what it needs to be. And that's another question that I get too. Like people like asking like how to plan refeeds. You cannot plan a refeed. That's not at all how that works.
So there's different approaches to refeed. Like prep versus like improvement season are extremely different when it comes to refeed.
Yeah.
Improvement season, you should be in a surplus the majority of the week. So the refeed
Mhm.
is not really refeeding anything other than giving you a break, like mentally
Mhm.
letting you socialize. Not that you can't with your meal plan, but like giving a little bit of like where you don't have to weigh your burger. Like you're
Mhm.
just relaxing that evening, doing whatever you want. Maybe you're going to like
Right.
an event and you're going out to dinner, like whatever. It's just like kind of like a mental relaxation more than needing the food, because you should be in a surplus most of the days. So, like, it's not like you're completely depleted by Saturday and need something Saturday night to refuel you
Right.
for the rest of the week. Whereas prep is that you are depleting, and at some point, like we say, flat burns fat. Depleting your glycogen stores can make you tap into burning fat stores in the simplest way to put it. But if you deplete too much, then your body can start resisting because it's not going to want to give up
Mhm.
everything. It's like bodybuilding's like a scientific trick to the body at some point where it's like you're trying to make your body keep as much muscle as possible with burning fat as much fat as possible. And if you deplete it too much, it's not going to want to maintain that muscle and it'll just start tapping into that. Like it's just going to start
Mhm.
decreasing what it needs to fuel because it's like she ain't giving me no food.
Right.
So what can I get rid of so that I can use more of these
Muscle.
calories for like life?
Yeah, absolutely. Someone like a while ago was asking because they were trying to plan their refeed around a vacation. And I was like, mm, that's not how that works. I said, well, how do you know you're going to need a refeed at that point? You don't like. And then also, again, you have to ask yourself, okay, how serious I am. Because if you're not serious and you're not trying to be crazy competitive, okay, cool. But if you are trying to get a pro card, if you're trying to get first call out, if you're trying to, place well at a pro show, that's the last thing on your mind.
Yeah, and I've seen competitors have like keep their cheat meals when they first start bodybuilding. Their coach keeps their cheat meals in until like the last 8 weeks or something like
Yeah.
that. Um, but then the further that you get into bodybuilding, it's like, why could I have these cheat meals before and now I can't have them now? Sometimes, like, there's different approaches to athletes. If this person's getting burnt out and they're going to start cheating anyway, having a
Hmm.
more controlled, off plan meal to allow their mental to kind of reset for the week is an
Yep.
approach.
Yep.
So, not that that's like the most like productive way to approach a prep, but it is if you are going if I take that cheat meal from you and you're going to be snacking every day
Right.
rather than you knowing that you have that cheat meal Saturday night and so it makes you adhere more, and then knowing that you have like that relaxed time coming,
Hmm.
sometimes that's a better mental approach and really is still less calories in versus
Yeah.
snacking every day that you're not like keeping track of,
A
or
hundred
like having
percent.
these rabid moments of not having anything for 2 weeks and then like binging on 5,000 calories. That's not healthy either. So like there's different approaches to it, but in prep the point of giving a refeed is completely based on what your body looks like and how it's responding. So you might go 3 weeks without one, and then like one of my teammates, I'm not going to call her out because I don't know if she wants me to say her name, but I know that she went many weeks without one, and then it was like 3 weeks in a row, Five Guys, and it's like,
Hmm.
do we know, like, you're getting a cheat today? Do we know next week you're going to get another one? No, we don't. But if next week it falls
Hmm.
around that you need another one, you get another one. So it's not like really predictable. Now, I will say, when you've been with a coach for a long time, they learn your body. So they know
Hmm.
more of what's likely. They still don't know exactly how things are going to respond because every prep is different.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that every time where it's like, even Nelson's like, things are moving fast. And I'm kind of surprised, but we're going to roll with it or like
Yep.
whatever. Um, Nelson will give me a heads up though, because I don't like the food in prep. Like once once we're like rolling and I know things are changing, I would rather starve than to have
Hmm.
a higher carb day because it just messes with my brain, especially because I'm not typically someone. I have been more recently, but I'm not someone who like gets a refeed today and then drops 2 pounds tomorrow. It's usually lags, and sometimes those carbs make me retain water, and then my weight's up tomorrow. That drives me
Hmm.
nutty, so I don't like it. but Nelson will give
Yes,
me
it
a
does,
heads up.
y'all. Yes, it
Like,
does.
he'll see me posing. He's like, "All right, you look good. We're gonna have to eat soon." So that kind of prepares my mind. Like, okay, he's gonna make me
Hmm.
eat soon. I know it has a purpose. Like, I have a logical side to my brain, but still, in the
Yeah.
moment, I'm like,
Hmm. Hmm. No, that makes sense. It's all, I mean, I know, again, this is just from being with my coach and understanding my body. Like, I know for me, like, if she starts giving me a bunch of refeed feeds, it's because she's trying to maintain me. So last season, I went from, oh my God, we're not going to make it to, holy crap, we got to hold you right here. Because if you keep dropping, it's going to be too lean, which sounds crazy to me. And in my mind, I'm like, how can you be too lean? But it is a thing because that was my feedback all season long. Do not get any leaner. So, like, once we got it rolling, oh, it was rolling. And then, like, at one point, I want to say maybe like 2 weeks out, it was like every other day. She was like, refeed, refeed, refeed. And I was like, ma'am, what are we doing? Because that's never happened to me before. And she just said, I got to hold you right here because if we keep going, we're going to start looking stringy. You're going to be too lean and we're going to tap into your muscle. We can't afford to tap into your muscle. And when she said tap into the muscle, I was like, say less. Please do not tap into my muscle. I do not want that. Like, that's a good way for me. Like, if you tell me you're gonna tap into my muscle and I'm gonna look stringy, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. Which I'm gonna do anyway, but that's my mind because that's like my biggest fear is like looking lanky and stringy on stage. No, ma'am. No, 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 no. All right. Okay, first question. So, how have y'all liked coaching competitors thus far? Go ahead, Alexis.
So far, I like it for the most part.
Uh
I
huh.
don't know if I've said it on here before, but I definitely like competitors more than lifestyle. And I think it's just because I'm so far removed from, like, I understand the approach to lifestyle, but it's hard for me to um, relate to it, I guess. And it's a lot simpler, which you would think would be easier, but it's way less hands-on, and I definitely like to be in the mix. So competitors is my preference right now. Um, it's cool seeing it's cool being on the other side, like applying things and then seeing that it works, and it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
oh.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's I'm enjoying it so far. I don't have a ton on my roster, and I
Yeah.
don't intend to add a ton because I'm also still competing at a high level, and I don't have any intention of slowing that down. So I'm
Mhm.
only taking on what I can. I don't want to get to a point where I'm um, a hindrance to my athletes. So I still have a little bit of room, but not a ton.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was very shocked. I thought I would like lifestyle more than competitors. Not saying that I dislike lifestyle, but it takes far more bandwidth. And it is just far more hand holding. And it's just far more. It is far more. And
See, that's
this is
been
something that,
the opposite of my thought. Like,
yeah.
yeah, I've found the lifestyle clients that I have, as long as they see some change, they're like, "This is great."
Hmm.
And then my
Yeah.
competitors are like,
Yeah, see,
not
that hasn't been
impressed.
me at all. Like my lifestyle girlies, and I love every single one of them. It's just like, well, how come I'm not seeing this? Well, how do I do that? And like, I think the biggest challenge with lifestyle, and this is just the way that I do things, is just the whole food aspect of it all. Like, just getting them to understand, like, because I'm big on teaching someone how to fuel their body efficiently. They're like, well, what are you eating? And I'm like, it doesn't matter what I'm eating because I love seafood. If you don't like seafood, guess what? That's not going to work for you. So it's just more so of having them like break the barriers of take away the categories breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Meal one, meal two, meal three, meal four. What protein sources do you like? Okay, cool. Understanding that this is a more fattier protein source. This is like teaching those things and kind of getting that aha, like, and them understanding that, okay, well, if I want to, lose weight, then I probably shouldn't be eating out a lot during the week. And I'm like, yes, yes,
And that
which
saves
to
you
me
money.
is come on, which it's a no-brainer to us, but then also understanding that, hey, exercise grace. And it's so funny because when I say it back to them, they're like, oh, it's like, yeah, well, I'm complaining because I'm not losing weight. But then when I look at your diary and I'm like, well, there's this, there's that, there's this, there's that, you got to make the adjustments. Versus with athletes, from again, I have more lifestyle than I do athletes. I have one more opening for an athlete that I can take on one more, but still I don't want a big roster. I don't have a big roster at all because again, like, I have that, and then I have my beauty business, and then me talking, figuring out what my plan is for competing this year. Oh yeah, I didn't talk about, so I'm just in a health phase. I get blood work this Thursday, and then once I get my blood work, we'll figure out where we're going from there. But I don't want to have a whole roster of people because it's going to be too much. And I'm in a space in my life where I don't want to be doing too much. But with my athletes, man, they are cut and dry. Hey, this is what I'm looking like. Okay, cool. Here's what we're going to do. Got it. Thank you. Move on to the next. I'm like, that's it? Like, nothing else? No more questions? Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm shocked. I really thought that I would be like, oh yeah, lifestyle, and again, I don't dislike it, but lifestyles, if for what I have right now, is way more work. Let's see. What are your Arnold predictions for bikini and wellness? I have to look at a list because I can't even.
Uh, yeah, I haven't made one.
Me neither.
um, I think it'll be a close battle between Francielle and Issa again. Um,
Mm-hmm.
from there, I think it just depends on who looks like what.
Yeah.
But I
Um.
have not been like stalking people like I typically do.
Me neither. I've been focused on like just so much other stuff, like getting my life back together. That's been like the furthest thing from my mind, honestly. Um, I'm looking at the list right now. So first call out, I know we'll have Laura Lee. Issa's out because she's sick, so that's like, dang, that's unfortunate. Laura Lee, Amy, Vanya, Angelica, and Phoebe. That's what I'm thinking, somewhere like in the top
Mm,
five. But again, like, you don't know how. That's just a guess off of how they've showed up and how they've placed at other shows.
yeah. I don't have. Does my face go away when I do this?
Oh, it's okay. It's fine.
Let me look real quick. If it loads. Okay.
I can't even find the wellness. Is that it? Ah, there it is. Okay. You got it, Alexis?
Mm, would you find it under?
Here, I'll send it to you. Hang on.
Oh wait, I found it.
You got it?
Yeah. So I'm gonna say. Are we just doing first call out? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, I just picked five.
So there's 11 people, probably at least either 4 or 6 in the first call out. Let's
Mm-hmm.
do Francielle,
Mm-hmm.
Issa,
Mm-hmm.
Bruna, Sandra.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to say her last name's Kim. Hi.
Oh yeah, I see. I don't know how to
I
pronounce
don't know
it.
how to say that. And and Lily. If I'm doing 6.
Yeah, yeah.
That's my first call out.
Yeah. Oh, well, we can announce that you'll be there, right?
Oh yeah. So I
Yeah.
think last time we recorded, which was like 10 years ago, it feels like at this
I
point.
know.
I was pretty sure, but I didn't have all my ducks in a row, and I don't want to tell you guys I'm going to be somewhere and then not be there. But yes, I'll be at the Arnold. We're actually kind of all powwowing it together. Olivia and Amber are coming to my house next Wednesday, and then we'll leave
Hmm.
Thursday morning and drive up, and then we'll come back Sunday.
Yes. It's gonna be fun.
Krista with KH is gonna be there. We'll rock around with her at some point at the expo. Um, and that's about all the solid plans I have. I'll train
Yeah.
um at probably at the pros gym.
Oh yeah. Yep, yep. So we'll be there. If you see us, come say hi.
Yes. Don't point from
Okay.
afar and like do that awkward
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, please don't. Like, please don't do that. Or it's like, and I get it, some people are shy or socially awkward. I've had it so where like a girl will kind of like come up to me and I'm like, hey, what's up? Then they just kind of like, and I'm like, what's like, I think something's wrong. I'm like, okay, can I help you? You're okay? And they're like, I follow you on Instagram. I'm like, girl, you should just led with that. Got me all stressed. Let's see. For Alexis, can natural athletes be competitive in the IFBB wellness?
Depends on what you consider competitive. Um, First call out at a pro show, possibly if you have the genetic makeup. Um, First call out at the Arnold, probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, or the Arnold or the Olympia, probably not. And I mean, that's going to be, you're going against people who have genetics and you have genetics, but they also have enhancements on top of it. And that's the sport.
I agree 100%. Let's see. Starting a MICU. Do you know what that is? I think this is I think a healthcare
Read,
question.
read it all together.
Starting a MICU PA job next month. A little nervous about meal timing with rounds. Then she says rounds unpredictability. Shift is 5:30 to 1900 hours rounds. 8 eat before work. Question mark. Sorry, I read that all crazy.
Okay, it's 5:30 to 7 and what else?
Rounds and then she has 8.
8 what?
Let me send. That's it. Just let me send it to you
I
because
have it
I'm
down,
like
but I
this is
forgot.
not.
So
I don't.
medical ICU is MICU.
Ah, okay.
The So my shifts, I have to be at work at 6:30 and end at like 7:15, so same thing. I definitely eat before work. I have occasionally been running late, try to take my meal one to work, and I usually don't get to eat it right away. So, rather than not eating until like 8:30 or 9, I eat it at 5:30 before I leave my house just to make sure that I at least have a meal in. And then so I'm in labor and delivery. It's not quite the same as MICU. I think at first it's going to be rough. You might end up with 6 hours where you're not eating and then have to smush some meals together. I had to do that when I was traveling, especially coming to a new unit and having to figure out like the flow of the unit. But I've also eaten meals. I've hidden and eaten meals. I've eaten meals in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I On really busy units, I would keep like shakes in my bag because shakes were easy to like down
Mm,
quickly. Um, and then like a fast carb of some sort, like an English muffin, is easier to eat than rice cakes. You can't eat rice cakes quickly. Um,
mm,
so just being like, I would err on the side of what is easy to eat fast for the first week or
mhm,
2 weeks,
mhm.
um, in case you don't get a ton of time to like sit down and enjoy it. Because in healthcare, we usually don't get to do that. Um,
Yeah.
my unit lets me eat at the desk, so I can more easily access my food now. But like, still, if I end up in the OR for a while and it's back to back cases or something like that, things still get pushed back. So,
Yeah.
um, be consistent everywhere else, knowing that sometimes you can't control work. So, control what you can outside of work, before work, after work, plan everything else. That way, if your meals do get smushed together, which makes you feel full longer and makes you like the partitioning's a little bit slower, it'll balance
Yeah.
out with all the other days and all the other variables.
Beautiful. Obviously not a question for me. All right, this is a really good question. I'd be interested in hearing y'all's take on oral birth control with bodybuilding. So,
So,
so I'll say this. I understand why women take birth control. I used to take birth control. However, I stopped because I'm not moody, I'm not up and down, and it started making me feel crazy. That's Amber before bodybuilding. So when I started bodybuilding, I stopped taking birth control in 2017, and people are probably like, oh, well, how have you been preventing getting pregnant? There are ways, okay? We won't get into that, but there are ways, all right? So by the time I got to bodybuilding, that wasn't an issue for me. But I think what people fail to realize when it comes to birth control is birth control does things to your hormones. And when it does things to your hormones and you're trying to get lean, it just makes the process very, very difficult. And Alexis can give you a more technical health care version of that.
so I'm not a doctor.
No.
Um, but I literally was talking about this yesterday at work, with a midwife and with another, like a fellow nurse, and both have like teen girls who have very bad periods, and that is right now and has been for a long time an approach to handle these bad periods. The thought process in the bad periods in young girls is that the hormone imbalance is not quite right. So there's been enough hormonal advance in order to hit like your menstruation, but everything's not balanced. So that's what causes the severe symptoms. Um, they were both of them separately, oddly, on the same day, asked me like, when do you think I should um, get my daughter on birth control? And my words were, I am not a birth control advocate, so I am not the person to ask
Right. Right.
because I don't think it's
Facts.
good. Because it's like, and like in some cases that is appropriate. There's a medical reason for it, but not long term. So
Right.
like our
No.
generation growing up, it was like, here's this pill. It keeps you from getting pregnant and it makes your periods better. Stay
Yep.
on it until you want to have a baby. And now we have 30-year-olds
Uh-huh.
who have infertility issues because you've turned off their hormones for 15 years.
Preach
Um
somebody.
and now
As you can
now
see,
they
we don't
don't
like it.
recommend things for long term. They're like, oh yeah, that probably wasn't great. Like they're not turning out great. But you don't know until you know. So not I'm not saying that those doctors were wrong, but we know now that there are better ways. Um, so I don't take birth control. I have not since 2015, a very long time. Um, and mine was the opposite. I'm very like spicy, and I got emotions all over the place. I can be sassy, I can be calm, I can turn it on, turn it off. Sometimes it does what it wants to. On birth control, I was like nothing. There was no
Crazy.
emotion. I wasn't happy, I wasn't sad, I didn't care. There was nothing.
Wow.
And I didn't like that. So I was on it for like a year and a half, not even a long time, and it was like I tried different approaches to it, like pill versus other options, and it didn't work for me as far as like how I felt.
Hmm.
However, I will also say I've never had bad menstrual cycles. I'm not someone who ever had bad symptoms. I barely ever can tell when it's coming, other than now I weigh myself so much I can tell when the scale goes up, and that's about it. And I'm a little bit more watery. Um, but there are other ways to prevent um, conception. So, in my opinion, if you're only on birth control to prevent getting pregnant, look at natural ways to not get pregnant. And I'm not just talking pull and pray, because that alone does not work, but also tracking like when you're
That's not it.
ovulating, what well, you also track though. You're not
Oh
literally
yeah.
only pulling and praying and relying
Right.
on a man who they don't make the best decisions anyway. Like you also like you know when to be a little
Yes.
bit more careful and
Yes.
like um when your body might be like, here's an egg, like, let's have a baby.
Let's
You're like,
go.
oh no.
Don't look at me.
Um, so like you can keep track of that. You can know when your ovulation is all the way down to peeing on an ovulation stick. Now, that's a little bit more tedious. You're having to do a little bit more, but you're not putting anything in your body to alter things. Now, if it's like from a health perspective, like if you have bad menstrual cycles or your hormones are imbalanced, adding a pill to mask the symptoms, because or whatever, an IUD or whatever, um, birth control is hormones for the most part. The most effective versions are hormonal. So adding one hormone or one approach to hormones to mask symptoms is not as healthy as equalizing your hormones. Like that's what I told the midwife. I was like, you can order her labs. Like just put in like order a whole panel and see what's in balance
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
balance those. That's why hormonal like HRT clinics, hormone replacement therapy, those are very big right now, but it's an early
Mhm.
science. So yes, we also don't know like the super long-term effects of that.
Right.
But I would recommend an approach like that than just doing hormonal birth control because that right and also to update medicine and update accepted practices in medicine takes a very long time because it takes a
Yeah.
lot of clinical trials. So most providers, a lot of bodybuilding is like anecdotal data. We see this work. This is what we're going to do. A lot of doctors will not do that because they're putting their license on the line and like they want to feel a little bit more secure um
We do all the
with like
dirty work.
backup. Yeah, of like here's evidence-based practice of how this is going to be
Yeah.
effective, not just this is what I've seen, you know, and some providers do, and those are my preferred kind, because that's usually like it's a little bit more up to date, and I see better results from those long term. But evidence based is what's appropriate right now. So I'm not like bad mouthing providers. There's just not a ton of evidence on things that work better than birth control.
Yeah. I roll with it. I agree with you 100%. I am someone that was taking birth control because I did have hellacious cramps, like the pain and everything that I would go through. So that's how I ended up getting on it. And so, how I kind of get around that is track your cycles, you guys. I track. And my main reasoning for tracking, obviously, was to avoid conception, but also if I can see when my period was coming, I'd go ahead and pop a Midol. I do not like taking medicine, but I bet you everything that I love, I will take whatever I need to take to avoid cramps and my back hurting because my cramps used to be so bad to the point where I would almost pass out. And I don't have time to deal with that level of pain. So something that helped me was just tracking. And then of course with bodybuilding now, I know my body so well, I can actually feel when my period is coming. So if I can get ahead of it, go ahead, take some Midol, take some Aleve or whatever, that'll help me out a ton. Of course, I know some people do have like way more severe cases, but again, that's what's worked for me because just pumping a hormone in your body because of pain, like when you really think about it, that makes zero sense. I had someone one time message me, and I don't know, I guess she was probably being a troll. She's like, I would never ever do PEDs or take any drugs because you're messing with your hormones. So me being who I am, I said, do you take birth control? She's like, yeah. And I said, oh, okay, bye.
Yeah, and well, I think a lot of people don't realize that that's what it is, or like they weren't. I think that is a problem with some providers is like some things have been around for so long, the education on it has gone out the window. And it's like, this is accepted,
Yep.
this is normal within society. Here you go. Which one do you want? Um, and knowing like you should always know all of the side effects of anything that you're putting into your body, whether it's prescribed to you for health
100%.
concerns, prescribed to you to help with pain, or taking it on your own free will because of wanting help with like sports and bodybuilding and stuff. Um,
Absolutely.
you need to understand what you're putting into your body. And that is like what gets me frustrated the most with anything related to the body, where it's like, oh, my doctor gave me this. Or old people where they're like, I take these pills. It's
Yes.
like,
Oh my
they don't
God.
even know what they are, what they're for. It's just like their doctor's like, you have this problem, here's a medicine, and that's it. And I think we have enough knowledge at our fingertips now to like educate yourself before you put something in your mouth.
Hmm. Yep, it's so true. Like, I knew my mom was taking blood pressure medication before she even told me because of her hair. It was around my wedding and I was coloring her hair, and her hair at the top, it was thinning. And I just kind of looked at it. I said, "Mommy, are you taking medicine for your blood pressure?" She goes, "How do you know?" I said, "Because your hair is thinning. Did your doctor not tell you that was a side effect?" No. And so I said, "Mom, is your blood pressure really high or are you just stressed? Can you just maybe change your diet?" Yeah, I could probably just change.
Yeah, and well, like people sometimes that's like it's told to them. They're not educated on how to do it. And
Right.
then they go 3 months, they go for their checkup, and their blood pressure is the same because nothing really changed. They didn't change anything. And it's like, okay, well, diet and exercise isn't working. Here's a pill. So
Right.
it's like there's just a huge disconnect in healthcare in general there, um, that maybe at some point will change. I don't know, but we can change things ourselves for ourselves. Like you have bodily autonomy. So you can
Yep.
make changes for yourself if you want to. And if you don't want to, that's fine. And all of this little spiel, not to say that you shouldn't take birth control, but you should educate yourself on what it is and what it's doing, and then decide whether you want to take it or not. And if you do take it and you have negative side effects, it's nobody's fault because you took
Right.
it.
Yes. And at least you're aware. Hold on, let me go to the bathroom real quick. I'm sorry.
Same.
While Alexis and I have a restroom break, really quickly, let's talk about suits. You need a good suit on stage. That is one thing you do not want to slip up on. KH Customs has the absolute best suits I have ever put on my body personally. They fit like a glove, they are beautiful, and they are affordable. If you need a new suit this season, definitely check them out. If you need help, you have any questions, not sure what color, hit up Alexis or I. We'd be happy to help you. And if you want to save some money, sorry, my dog's in here. If you want to save some money, you can use code AlexisA or Amberp to save you some money. And also, you really, really, really want to make sure you have a fly practice suit as well. Because listen, let me tell you, I used to didn't think that it mattered, but then when I got my first KH posing suit, yeah, it was a game changer. So, stage suits, posing suits, KH Customs, you need it. All right, bye. Let's get back to the episode. All right. This is a good question. Oh, wait, where did it go? There it is. Okay. Excuse me, we don't need you in the pod, sir. All right. What was the most helpful feedback you've ever received from a judge? Rocket, hush.
Um, so at Tampa in 2022, my feedback has, for the most part, been consistent from judges, like from show to show. It's just like, you need to grow more, you need to be tighter. That's the majority of what it is. But the way that Attila delivered it was very clear. She came backstage and she said, if you were tighter this show, you would have won. Point blank, period. If you were tighter this show, you would have won.
Mhm.
So I was like, so if I'd been leaner, I could have won this show. Like, you know, point blank. It is very direct, and it just hit me a little bit different than like, oh, you should be tighter, or you could come up in your hamstrings a little bit,
Mhm.
or you could grow in your glutes. Like, it wasn't around the bushes. It was very like a gut punch. You could have qualified for the Olympia today, but you didn't.
Mhm.
And that's what I heard,
Yeah.
and I was like, noted. Been leaner ever since.
Yeah. I love getting feedback from Attila. Just I obviously understand the Brazilian culture by being married to one. They are so direct. They are
Hmm.
not an enigma. They're going to give it to you straight, no chaser, which I can appreciate. And my best feedback was Universe, my pro card win. And it was consistent. Tyler said, you got to watch your waistline. That was his main concern with me. He's like, yeah, more upper and outer glute. Everybody needs more upper and outer glute most of the time. He's like, but your waistline has got to get tighter. Okay, cool. Same thing. Attila, she saw me. She's like, beautiful. Everything's good. More upper outer glute, but your waistline, girl. I was kind of like, okay. And it wasn't when the feedback's so good, you don't even have any questions to ask because it's just so because honestly, up until that point, all my other feedback, I was like, well, should I do this? I don't know about that. Like it just wasn't ever clear to me. But that show, that was the most direct and the most precise feedback I'd ever gotten. And I agreed with it 100%. So that's been my main focus, the waistline.
Yes, I think direct and sometimes they can't be direct. Like
Yeah.
sometimes we've said it before, like sometimes it's just someone was barely better than you, and if that had person
Mhm.
hadn't been there, you would have won.
Yeah.
Um, so like sometimes that is what it is, and it's not there's nothing you can do about it. But when you
Yeah.
have the opportunity to get like super direct, clear, this is what we wanted, this is what you didn't bring, got it, we'll bring it next time.
Yep. And if you are ever competing in front of Tyler or Attila, please get your feedback from them. That is like chef's kiss good feedback. And that's no
Yes.
shade to other judges, but they're just so direct. Let's see. What are you looking forward to most this year outside of competing?
Um, Learning the coaching thing, I think that's been a fun little adventure so far.
Yeah. I am looking forward to just figuring out more ways that I could honestly be of service to athletes, especially like when it comes to like stage glam. Like you guys know, like that's my absolute favorite thing to do in the world is help everyone get to stage. And so just trying to think about other little things because I think what people fail to realize is, and I don't know, maybe it's because it is my love, it's my passion, I'm a competitor as well, but sometimes like when it comes to getting your stage glam done, it's not even about the glam. It's just a matter of just being peaceful for that person. Like those small little minor details really matter a lot to an athlete. And honestly didn't realize it until I did the Arizona Pro this year. Just like how grateful and thankful all the athletes were that I showed up, especially with Marilla being in the hospital that week, and just all the things they were saying. I was like, man, like this is like so much deeper than just slapping makeup on someone and putting hairspray on. It's just like so just different things that I can do to just make an athlete have a better experience.
Yes.
Let's see. Do you think tattoos affect bodybuilding judges' decision?
So sometimes, yes, I think the placement of them and how much they distract, um, but not as much as people claim or like use them as an excuse.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, Sandra Colorado has two quad tattoos, and she was in the top 10 at the Olympiad. So, what is wellness? Quads, glutes and hamstrings, and she's got two quad tattoos. So,
Hmm.
I think that's very clear, no, they're not completely restricting, but they're balanced. You have one on each leg. So it's not like there's only one on one quad. It's evenly placed, and I don't know if that makes a difference. Um
Mhm.
Being at the judges table is not a job that I want. Um
Mm-mm.
so I think that they just can't be distracting. So if you're thinking about getting a tattoo, I would definitely think about placement and all of that. But if you already have them, I wouldn't let them just prevent you from getting on stage.
Yeah. From what I've found is if it's just a poorly done tattoo, if it's blown out, if it looks like mud, if it's kind of murky, that's when it stands out to me because I'm like, ooh, what's that? So of course, like if you already got it, you already got it, but just be mindful because I do feel like it can be a distraction to an extent.
Yeah, and the distractions typically are the large ones placed on important body parts, like large
Hmm.
dark ones on important
Dark
body parts.
ones.
The fact that there is a
Yeah,
tattoo present, they don't care. It's not like pageants where like
right.
I wouldn't have been allowed to have this at all. Like the one on my
That's
foot,
crazy.
I oh, this one, let me see if I can get my foot up here. This
Come on, girl, flexibility.
self
Oh,
tanner covered it up. You won't see that
are you
tattoo as
serious?
it is. Yeah, it's like it doesn't exist. Yeah. So it's
On
not
your
like
foot?
that. Yeah. Yeah. Like I've foot over toilet right before I go on stage, spray it, let it dry, heal, go. Was my routine. Um,
Yo.
yeah, they were very frowned upon. But that's not bodybuilding. It's just like, is it distracting from from the body? Like they're still trying to judge muscles. So if you have a huge ab tattoo that's distorted and dark and like running
Yeah.
and you are open bodybuilding, probably not gonna work out. But just because you have a tattoo doesn't make a difference.
I agree. I love this question. How stoked are you about this shape looking bomb?
Oh, that it I'm happy.
I know that wasn't supposed to be for the pod, but I saw it and I was like, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, I'm excited.
This
I
is
think my hamstrings have improved a lot. My upper glute and like my glutes I'm just denser.
that's what I was gonna say.
I've been
You're
training a
denser.
different way and just been like this is the most consistent off season I've had. So
Agreed. How do you help shake off the nerves on show day?
that's one for Amber because I don't get nervous. I get excited.
Yeah, I do. I get nervous. And I think my nerves are more so of I'm not afraid to be on stage. That doesn't bother me. It's just more so of the nerves of, okay, is this going to be good enough? Because just for me, like mentally and emotionally, I don't think I've ever spoke on this, but that's okay. That's something I've always struggled with, just like never feeling like I'm good enough at anything. Like I'm never a good enough daughter. I'm not a good enough wife. I'm not a good enough professional hairstylist, X, Y, and Z. So for me, I go through that mental battle of, okay, am I good enough? And in order for me to kind of go past that, I just have to remind myself, okay, first of all, if you were not good enough, God would have never placed this on you in the first place. So, with that being in mind, because God's not ever going to put something on your heart if He knows you aren't good enough for it. So, I just tell myself, hey, those are thoughts from the pits of hell. Put those to rest. You've done all the work. You know you've done all that you can do. Go out there and get on stage. Because, like, at the end of the day, like, for me, being on stage is not hard. Like, I know how to be on stage, I know how to present myself. I'm not afraid to pose. That's not it, but it's just more so of those mental nerves that I have to really put down. And then, some people do have like the nerves of being on stage. I don't think I have that because being in the beauty industry, when you have clients, you have to perform, right? And then of course I have my background history of being a professional, not professional, being a competitive cheerleader growing up. So I'm used to doing the whole rah rah in front of people. But if you are someone who is struggling with just, oh my gosh, stage fright, the best thing for you to do is get on stage,
And
because the more you
I
get on, the better it gets.
for my girls, like my posing girls, what I advise them as far as like that is, and I've seen it work. I don't like firsthand. I don't tend to get nervous for stage. So, um, but what I've seen work in them is like, one, practice your posing in front of people that you know and care about. It's a lot harder to
Mhm,
perform in front of your friends and your loved ones than it is in front of
mhm.
strangers. So like if you have a significant other that you live with, do your posing for them. I get nervous in front of Kenley still.
I hate
Um,
posing in front of Amarillo. Oh my god. He's like,
yeah,
"Let me see." And I'm like, "No."
yeah. And so like I'll have Kenley like call my quarters. Sometimes he calls them wrong. Like last year, he's like, called my quarters, turned to the back, walked to the back of the stage. I get to the back of the stage. He's like, quarter turn to the right. I was like, we don't do that back here. What are you talking about? And then also, if
I love
there
it.
are like any posing clinics near you, even if you're comfortable with your posing, go do it with a group of girls who
Okay.
everyone's doing it together, because that's what you're going to be
Mhm.
doing on show day, and get in front of more people. Pose at your posing, like if your gym has a posing room, or like I at my gym will do it like in the classroom rooms when they're empty. People come in and out of there, like they'll use the yoga mats for stretching and stuff. So people are in and out.
Mhm.
Keep Don't pause when somebody walks in that door. Like keep going through your routine, keep going through your mandatory
Mhm.
poses, and kind of desensitize to the people are watching me situation.
Yeah. And that's a good one too, because anyone that I've helped pose, I am not a posing coach. These are girls that just so happen to be local to me. They're like, "Hey, can you look over my posing?" And it is so interesting the difference of like when I'm watching them pose and I say, "Okay, well, let me pose with you. Let me stand next to you." They're like, "What?" And they freak out. And I tell them, when you on stage, for what matters the most, you're going to be on stage with a bunch of girls. So
Yeah.
you need to get over the fear of posing next to me because I'm not going to be at your show on stage with you. But if it is different when you're posing by yourself versus when you're posing next to someone else, because something I notice that a lot of novice posers do is they'll start watching you. I'm like, no, don't watch me because my transition is different from yours, you know? So that's like the best. That's really good advice.
Yeah. And if you see me in a bikini pose, it looks really funny.
It
So
does
don't
look
worry.
different now. It does look different. Anytime I've seen you do it, I'm like, oh. Let's see. Next question. Love the pod. What do you do to get through tough mental days? Pray and complain to Alexis.
Or I get super quiet. Like if I
Yeah.
can't do anything about it, sometimes sometimes complaining just makes me stress more about it and
Yeah.
bringing it like to the surface. If I can't do anything about it, I just be quiet. So like at
Yeah.
work, that's like we were talking about it yesterday because the girls know that I'm in prep now. It's like, yeah, towards the end, she starts sitting by herself and doesn't talk to anyone. Well, it's better than me
Hmm.
getting cranky. So,
Yeah. That's your personality in general. I've noticed though. Like sometimes if it's not even prep, if it's just something else, like if you're quiet, I know it's like okay, she needs a moment.
she's
She's trying to
usually out loud
process
and
something.
obnoxious.
She sent me the funniest meme the other day. It was like when your friend has golden retriever energy and you're a black cat. I was like, that's us. It's like that is us to a T. Y'all guess who's who. Let's see. Oh, was that it? That was I didn't get that one. Okay, cool. Yeah, that was it. That's perfect. Oh yeah, y'all got an hour long pod to make up for us not being together. So I hope y'all enjoyed. Of course, if you have like any questions, even if we don't put the question box up, always send your questions to the Girl Games Podcast Instagram because we both have access to it and we'll see the questions. We can always refer back to that. So please make sure you do that. We will be at the Arnold. I have, I think, one more spot available for the Arnold Amateur. So if you're an amateur and you haven't booked Glam, do that. Alexis is taking posing, so make sure the season is about to get kicked off, and I am so excited. I am ready.
Yes, it's
I
getting
know you're
fired up
ready.
quickly.
Because at first I was like, oh, am I going to compete this year? I don't know. Oh, I just feel in a funk just with life. And now I'm kind of like, okay, like let's get the shows going. Let's start getting things. So the season is on its way. Of course, if you guys want us to touch on anything, again, send us a message via the Girl Games Podcast, Instagram, and we will chat with y'all next week. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.